I got some really bad news to report. Of course, this is a vlog. I always work into it. It's a pretty hot day today. Sitting in here in the shade, I thought it'd be kind of nice. The camera gets really hot when I sit out in the sun because it's a black camera, it's a GoPro. And they even advertise, GoPro advertises that you don't want to keep it out in the heat more than like 20 minutes. So to sit in the shade. It's partly cloudy today. I started the well pump early this morning, right when the sun started hitting the solar panels. I've been telling you in the previous videos that I've been able to run the well pump off the solar every day now. We have not ran the generator one time for the well pump. Now, Carolyn's son runs the air conditioner, and on these partly cloudy days, we just don't have enough solar panels. Now, I'm going to get 2 more solar panels on, 4 more days or so. Hopefully, that'll help out a little bit on these partly cloudy days where he can run throughout the day without running that generator. But regardless, I'm really excited about being able to run the well off solar panels. I was working on it all day yesterday, trying to experiment and do different things and running 2 charge controllers. Yesterday's video I was telling you about how I realized my charge controller is only 40 amps instead of what's advertised at 60 amps. And I actually put a up next box at the end of this video to that video. Just so aggravating. So I bought another charge controller. Fortunately, it says that it's going to be here the same day the solar panels are going to be here. So that's good news. Get them both on the same day, hopefully on the same shipment. I don't know. I'm going to look into it. I've got this alternative charge controller. It's the old-fashioned kind. It's not an MPPT charge controller. I don't know how efficient 2 charge controllers will run. So I have this plan that if I need 60 amps, like when running the well, I'll put a switch on that charge controller's wiring and I'll switch it on so the solar panels are going to the charge controller. Otherwise, 40 amps is enough to charge the batteries. Usually, it never gets up to 40 amps to charge the batteries because the batteries start to charge in the morning and it gradually increases in amperage. And so the batteries are pretty much charged before the solar panels can actually produce more than 40 amps. I'll just use it when we're running the air conditioner or running the well. Just switch it on. But once I get the new charge controller, I'll experiment with it. Long story, didn't mean to get too in depth with it. I've noticed that most everybody I talk to has one reason or another that they can't live off grid. I don't know what makes me and Carolyn unique. Nothing. I don't think we're unique. We've had all the glamorous lifestyle. You know, we owned a house and we rented a house and we rented 8 acres and we worked, and I don't understand why you couldn't do this. So I'm going to get into a few of these things, but one of the biggest things is laundry. People just swear them down that they're not going to do laundry by hand. Now, when I say that, I get a bunch of people in the comments section that says, oh, I do laundry by hand. And as you know, Carolyn does the laundry by hand. We don't have a lot of clothes. I think we have maybe 4 changes of clothes. I think 3 or 4. And so we don't have a lot to do all at once. She just does it regularly. So in the wintertime, I think it's actually easier for her to do laundry in the wintertime than it is the summertime. In the wintertime, she takes water from the IBC tank through the water heater, so she's got hot water, and she plunges it inside the house in a bucket. So the bucket doesn't hold a lot of laundry or water, and you don't want to have so much water in it that's splashing over. So it's just easier for her to do laundry every day. Just gets into a routine where she sits down, does a little bit of laundry. And I think that's the biggest thing about living off grid is you got to get into routines. Every day you got to do things at the same time. And I think that may be one of the reasons why people just can't do off-grid, because they don't do routines. They get up at noon, or they get up at 4, or they get up at 1, just whatever time, it doesn't matter. Who cares? I'm retired. And so when you need to do laundry, well, you can't do laundry because it's dark. I get up at 5 o'clock every morning, and Carolyn usually gets up before 8. Now, she stays up later than I do, but she seems to need less sleep than me. Now, I've done a lot of research on this because I just don't understand how anybody can get less than 8 hours. I got to have 8 hours. But so I go to bed pretty early, and I get up fairly early. Where she can stay up pretty late and still get up pretty early. There's regular times she'll get up at 6:30, so just an hour and a half after me, and she stayed up all night. So she just needs less sleep, but regardless, she understands what she needs and she's able to do that. And I know what I need, so that's just part of the routine. There's not much for me to do in the morning. I get up 5 o'clock in the morning, I come down. If the batteries are low, the freezer ran a little bit more than it needed to, or in the wintertime, I tend to have to run the generator quite a bit because there's just shorter days. So I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I come down, I open up the door for the chickens, I start the generator if needed. I always check the batteries to see if we need them. Like I said, that's more of a winter thing. Well, here recently, since the well's been running off the solar panels, I come down several times in the morning after the sun comes up to check the battery status, see if they're charging okay. It takes a little bit more effort than it did with the generator to start the well. I have to turn on the larger inverter. We have a 2,000 watt inverter and we have a 1,000 watt inverter. We run everything off the 1,000 watt inverter because it uses less amps in standby mode. If there's nothing plugged into it and you have it on, the 1,000 uses maybe 1 amp, whereas the 2,000 uses 2 amps. So that's quite a bit of electricity. So I don't like having that one on unless we need it, so I turn it on, and then I plug the well in, but then I gotta run back up the hill and fill up the tank. Well, normally I turn the water down really slow when I'm running off the generator because I don't want to run the well dry. Now, when I was running off the generator, I'd only fill the IBC tank every 2 or 3 days. Well, here, since I'm running it off the solar panels, I've been doing it every day. So there's not a lot of water that I got to replace. So I turn the well all the way up now, but I got to be careful not to run the well dry. So I run the well for about 10 minutes on full blast off the solar panels, and then I shut it off. That way the well can fill back up if needed. If I'm just filling the IBC tank, 1 day's worth of use, 10 minutes or less is all I need to fill it. But if I got to fill Carolyn's sinks for the laundry, then I have to shut it off, come back 20 minutes later, fill the sinks. Now in the summertime, like I said, she does laundry in the sinks. And I actually think that's just more work for some reason. I don't know why. I guess, I don't know. To me, it just looks like more work, but she seems to enjoy it quite a bit. Now, of course, it's actually cooler outside in the shade than it is in the house. We don't have air conditioning, which brings me to the next point. Can't live without air conditioning. I don't know why people can't live without air conditioning. I will tell you, I can't live without heat. So I spend an enormous amount of time making sure that I have the things I need for heat. But the thing is, I don't think many people can live without heat. I know somebody in the van group is going to say, oh no, all you got to do is just have lots of blankets. Well, that's fine if you want to sleep at night with lots of blankets. But what do you do during the day? Well, I know what you're doing during the day. You're sleeping with lots of blankets. You're not active. You're just huddled up all winter. And so you get depression and all those things that I hear all the time, people complaining about. This is why. It's because you're not trying to make yourself comfortable in the wintertime. That winter depression. I want to stay warm, so I got plenty of firewood. So, but the air conditioning, we don't run the air conditioner. Now, we have been for Carolyn's son, but like I said, he's got the generator, so on these cloudy days, partly cloudy days, he can run the generator. To me, it's cooler coming out here in the shade, so her wash area is in the shade. Now, I've been working on the solar panels all day, well, not really working on them, I've been kind of trying to understand them. And so I've been sweating, and I got to thinking about that. I think that is one of the biggest complaints people have about the heat is they sweat. Well, I just don't have a problem with sweating. It's part of your system. That's how you stay cool. The other thing is people don't drink water. They drink a lot of fluids, and when people are talking about dehydration, they always say, drink plenty of fluids. No, drink plenty of water. And I will get somebody in the comment section, don't drink too much water, you can get water poisoning. Yeah, if you're drinking 10 gallons a minute, I mean, I actually listened to this talk show host, and he had a contest. There was a bunch of people, and they were all drinking water just as fast as they can. One person died from it. And I think this is where it became such a big deal. If you're got electrolytes and you're eating salt and sugars and that kind of thing, yeah, you'll be fine. The only thing drinking too much water that fast will do is your electrical system won't have any conductivity. So you got to put some conductivity in it so your nervous system can keep working. But you're not going to drink too much water. Carolyn and I drink probably 8 water bottles of water each day. We just fill up the water bottle. Of course, we have the Berkey, so we keep the Berkey filled at all times. Now, that's during the summer. During the winter, we don't drink hardly. We may only drink 2 or 3 bottles of water in the winter. So it depends on the season, obviously. But when you're sweating, just drink water, and you'll be fine. With people not being able to endure the heat is they drink the wrong stuff. And it reminds me of the carnivorous diet. I was going to say, sitting here in the shade, I'd like to have a watermelon. And I know if I say I'm going to get a watermelon, somebody say, "Oh, you're a liar. You said you're on a carnivorous diet. Watermelon isn't a carnivorous." Well, every now and then we may cheat. Watermelon is a nice seasonal thing that we could have occasionally. It's not like we eat it every day. But it's one of those things, just nice to sit outside and eat watermelon. People will tell me they can't eat the carnivorous diet because they just enjoy too many flavors of food. And I keep saying, once you start eating the carnivorous diet and you get off carbohydrate addiction, sugar addiction, then you won't even care what you're eating. It's just substances. It's not a big deal. But people don't want to give up their comforts. This country has become very spoiled, and they don't even realize it. They're just beyond belief so spoiled. I hear people all the time, "Oh, we don't make enough money in this country. Minimum wage is too low," and you'll hear all this stuff, yet they can't live without a car, they can't live without air conditioning, they can't live without fancy foods, high carbohydrate foods, their addiction foods, comfort foods, TV. There's another one. "I gotta have my TV." No, you don't. We have Netflix. We watch it on a little phone for 2 hours a day. And we seem to do okay with that. Or you could read a book if you didn't want to get internet. I mean, think about before TV. That's what people did. They read books. So we've become spoiled. And at the same time, we talk about we're too broke. We can't have a normal life. Well, what is a normal life? Spoiled. Another thing I've heard is I wouldn't want to split all that firewood. That's just too much work. That statement there really does frustrate me. It's just too much work. Your definition of too much work is working for yourself, splitting firewood. My definition of too much work is going to work for an employer for 16 hours a day, being driven like a slave, always afraid to lose your job, and then you can't come home and split firewood or do these things that are nice. I understand what people are saying. When I come home, I want to sit down in front of the air conditioner. I want to watch TV. When you come home, I get it. I was the same way. I worked so many hours that I needed time to slow down for whenever I had time off, usually Sunday. I had to work Sunday morning. Every Sunday morning I had to make the schedule. But on Sunday, I needed time to slow down just so I could relax for a second. So I had to be careful. I had to watch TV that I didn't like. It would just sat in the background. I watched it, so it would slow me down. Like, oh, when is this show going to be over? You know, it's just had to slow down. So you just want to sit down, relax, drink a cold one, not water, and watch TV. Well, here, I am relaxed all the time. Now, I know there are some people who are going to say, "Well, I don't work. I've got disabilities." Well, that brings me to the point, my last point, is yesterday I wasn't doing anything. I was working on the solar system. I was in the little truck camper and I'm wiring up a charge controller. I was standing. I wasn't bending over. I wasn't lifting anything heavy, and I seriously hurt my back. It happens every few years where it just wrenches my back. I don't know what I've done, pulled a muscle, done something. It'll go away in a few days. You want to just stop and give up and go lay down, because it's more comfortable just to lay down and give it a rest for however long it's going to take. But I can't. I know I've not permanently damaged my back, which I think a lot of people seem to think that's what they've done. They've permanently damaged their back and they've got to baby it. They're going to be on disability. I don't even take pain medication. Carolyn said take some Tylenol, and I did. I took some Tylenol. And then I went to bed. She said, "Why don't you take 4 more?" And I'm like, no, wait. That's going to make me sick. You can't take that many Tylenol. So we read the instructions. You're not allowed to take more than 4,000 milligrams per 24-hour period. So I was safe. So I went ahead and took the 4. But beyond that, I'm not taking anything. And I still have to do things today. One of the big chores I had to do last night, which took the most strenuous exercise, was the chickens. Got to take care of the chickens. So I got to carry the water bucket down here, which that got to be careful. And all I did was I just slowed down. And instead of rushing around, I just picked the bucket up. I found a comfortable position where I could just kind of bend over a little bit. Or a lot of people complain about aches and pains that they have. And I know that I'm going to get a ton of people down in the comment section telling me, you don't understand what it's like to be old and painful. And you know, I hear you. I mean, I get it. But they assume that I don't have aches and pains and that I don't hurt myself. I was filling a feeder one time in the wintertime. I had a ladder and it was snowing. And I got up on the ladder, put the corn in the feeder. And I got down and I twisted my ankle. I dislocated my ankle. Now at the time, I didn't know what I had done. But I wasn't going to go to the doctor. As you know, I'm not a big fan of doctors. I was pretty certain that I didn't break it. So I made my own cast out of the same material. It's a plastic material that I make my teeth out of. So I made this cast and I was able to go to work and do my thing for a few days. Well, that weekend, I decided I wanted to walk up the hill to the little pond that we had. And as I was coming down the hill, I twisted it again and it popped back into place. It was horrifyingly painful, both through the whole thing, just amazingly painful. But I didn't quit. I still went to work. I made my own cast. I did my own thing. I think people see pain nowadays as a sign of we have to stop. But back in the olden days, pain was just a sign that you've injured yourself. You need to get it fixed, but we can't stop. Pain is just a message center. It says, hey, you've hurt yourself. You know, think about this. You cut yourself. It's painful. Ouch, I cut myself. You put a Band-Aid on it and you continue on doing what you're doing. Well, that's what all these pains do. It lets you know you got a little problem. Here's how we're going to fix it. And so I just have to be careful with my back. So giving up your life because you have some pains, I know I'm going to get yelled at in the comment section. I'm not willing to give it up. So if you click this up next box, take that video where I was talking about those solar panels. So I hope I can inspire you to live your dreams. Stop living so comfortably. We're spoiled. Thanks for watching.